G'day friends, welcome to day 23 of MERMAY 2018. Get a very, very fun piece for you today. I really do enjoy the end result. Went on a bit of a journey of its own, I would say, just like the video. Halfway through, a ray of sunlight just kind of streamed through the window and I was way too busy just basking in the glory of it to notice, and the video kind of changes lighting effects halfway through, so spot that if you can. I'm doing the bow from yesterday's piece as well. I knew the bow and fro combo, I could not just leave it at one piece. I had to do it again. So I really, really do enjoy this. To be honest, it was going to be a bit of a Little House on the Prairie, Laura Ingalls fantasy collecting wildflowers extravaganza, but it ended up being a bit of like an Instagram, you know, basic white girl, she thought she could, so she did, like, it became very her at the beach with her underwater daisy collection, and the thing I love most about it is the macrame tail detail. The macrame detail, I guess you could say. That's clever. I'm putting that on Instagram. I really like the macrame detail I did with the pen at the end. It was kind of unexpected. I was just going nuts with my gel pens. Gel pens are so funny because I feel like we always kind of look at them, they're so alluring to buy, but you don't really use them after you leave high school, right? When you don't have notebooks just to scribble all over. But I find that doing mixed media arts and crafts, they're a great way to add little patterns and details with different colors, you know, adding like blue eyelashes or just frills and stuff. And today, like the macrame, just that detailing. But I did it with the blue Muji pen, which is just the blue version of the black one that I always use, so I'll leave the link to the black one down there and you can just find the blue one if you really want to find that. But yeah, Muji has a great selection of gel pens and I use a lot of those for my colored detailing. Now they are not archival, they are not going to last 3,000 years, especially if you have them in the sunlight, but you know, your pinks will fade like literally in like 3 weeks. But for things like journaling, for things like if you're going to scan your artwork and get it digitally reproduced as prints or something like that, why not grab a gel pen? I mean, your original probably won't last forever, but you can always scan it in, right? So that's kind of my theory. I don't know, not to get on a huge tangent, but I find a lot of people will be really quick to judge products that aren't archival. And I just have to question like who you're selling to, because I don't think a lot of us as mixed media arts and crafters are actually producing works that were supposed to last for 600 years. It's a nice thought, definitely, but we also live in a time where as artists ourselves, we can make digital reproductions of our stuff. So if you really are worried about something, but you just want to use it, my thing is like, just go use it and make a scan of it. You know what I mean? Like scan it into your computer, save the file, make a book even if you need to make a book of all the stuff that you want to last forever. But I'm typically less precious about that stuff unless I'm selling it. I do want things, you know, if I'm selling it, it has to at least last until the person that buys it passes away. So, you know, it has to be archival in that sense. But for a lot of the time, like a lot of your inks that you use and dye-based products, they're not archival. A lot of your watercolors, like student grade, they're going to fade. A lot of us work in journals anyway. I know in MERMAY, I'm not working in a journal. They're all individual pieces, but perhaps they might get bound into a journal if I can be bothered learning how to do that. Or maybe I might frame a couple and put them in, you know, in my office. I'm not quite sure. I really don't know what I'm going to do. I know I had a couple of people asking if I'm going to sell the originals. I don't know at this point. I listed a lot of originals from Inktober last year, but they were a lot bigger, and that process was actually probably less involved in this, but I felt like it was scarier because I was so unfamiliar with what was going to happen with the ink. This one I feel like the subject matter was a little bit easier for me, but the yeah, I've sold Inktober pieces before, and so if you really do want to grab an original, there are originals available. But for the MERMAY pieces, I'm not quite sure because, like I said, some of them I didn't make to stand the test of time. And I don't know in good faith how much I could price something that might fade on you in like 3 weeks. But you know, at the end of the day, I guess there are always other options. Just keep an eye out. If I decide to turn these into anything, you'll be the first to know. But I really, really like this piece. I'm just going to say it again. I really like that it went on its own journey, and what I thought it might become became something completely different, although the aesthetic stayed exactly the same. It's so funny how in my head what I saw wasn't what I was actually doing. But yeah, I'll leave you with that. You can watch the piece come alive if you like. Speaking of light, there is one thing I thought I'd touch on today. I get a lot of questions and it's pretty hard to answer all of them in one specific video that's not an hour and a half long, about what to do when you're starting to when you want to start filming and sharing on social media or start making a YouTube channel and stuff like that. Now, gone are the days when you could just set up in your room with a digital camera on a shaky tripod and just film. You know, people built whole YouTube careers as beauty influencers and vloggers doing stuff like that. But, you know, now that we all have access to high-tech equipment that we can literally slide into our pocket, you know, it's just expected of us now that the videos that we're creating are HD and that they're really, you know, edited properly and that they're only a certain few minutes long because our attention span doesn't last anymore. I'm lucky that my demographic haven't fried their attention span yet. But still, there's a certain element of quality that you do come to expect in these videos now. So I'll touch on a couple of helpful hints that I think you could probably take into consideration, stuff that I've had to learn along the way and stuff that I kind of thought about, or stuff that you know, there's lots of stuff that I still have yet to learn about filming. So please take all of my opinions with a grain of salt, just like everything you see on the internet. But my advice to you would be, cameras don't have to be DSLR cameras. I shoot with an iPhone 7 Plus. The iPhone 7 Plus actually has better filming capabilities than my DSLR camera. So I have the Canon Rebel T6i, I think is my actual camera. I think that only shoots 30 frames per second, and I think it goes up to 720p HD. So it is HD, but I typically shoot in 1080p at 60 frames per second. Now, I do that for a random reason, but the quality is really, really great, obviously, and it's super clear, which is great for seeing things like texture in paper. Like, if you watch this on full quality, you're seeing really, really nice textures. You're seeing the artwork the way that I kind of want you to see it. Terrible for if you're doing makeup tutorials, because I mean you just see every sin, but but that's come to be expected in the makeup community as well. So we have them to thank for HD. But I film at 1080p. You can shoot in 4K on the iPhone 7 Plus. Now that's like watching it in real life. It's crazy. But 60 frames a second is good as well, because if you're doing a lot of things that are sped up, it just looks smoother. It's a smoother speed through process than watching it at 30 frames per second. Some people might not notice the difference, but I definitely noticed it once it switched. And I do prefer the 60 frames per second because it is not as jarring to see these movements happen in super hyper speed motion. Because let's face it, a lot of what we do very slowly, and we don't want to watch a 45-hour video. I mean, some days we do. But you know, from MERMAY, like I couldn't be releasing 2.5-hour videos on days where MERMAY took a long time. You know, I watch the demographics. I look at the YouTube analytics. I have, you know, a retention span that is good, but typically people don't stay after about 7 or 8 minutes. That's as much as I can get out of people. So, you know, you kind of take that into account when this starts to become your business, and you want to make sure that you start to adapt and change. Being adaptable is key in business. So let's get off of business and more just talk about some tips, I guess. But the tips for filming, I would, you know, buy an iPhone 7 Plus. If you're thinking about investing in a DSLR just for filming, you know, unless you want to do photography, but even then, you'd probably need like a nicer lens than the standard defaults. I'll let Steve talk to you about that stuff. If you're curious to know, just let me know in the comments, and Steve can come on and give you a bit of a chat about that kind of a thing, because he knows more about photography than I will ever know. But yeah, if you're just looking to get into some like high quality filming, it is cheaper to buy an iPhone 7 Plus. It is also more portable. You can have it charging whilst you're recording. If you have Apple products, you can airdrop your videos to places. Like it's compatible with all your other Apple products. I literally cannot recommend it enough. I've started to see companies move towards using iPhones instead of big bulky camera setups. And if you're someone that just wants to start a YouTube channel for possibly anything, like if you're going to do vlogs associated with your journaling, like when I went to Pixar Fest and then did the journaling afterwards, you're also not going to have any kind of difference in the quality of your footage from vlog to journaling because it's all shot on the same camera. And also, it's super portable. Like, my phone stays in my pocket. Not only does it serve as, like, you know, my phone and in my social media platforms, it also serves as my camera. So I don't know how fast it's going to run out of memory and hard drive and all that good stuff that I have no idea about. I generally unload it pretty often and then kind of delete everything, but you know, I'm also not good at tech and spec, so I'll let you know if it really does become a problem. But either way, I mean, if I was to buy another camera just for filming, I would probably just buy another iPhone 7 Plus that's like someone's secondhand one or something that still had the camera working, because the camera in itself is just super high powered. Like, yeah, it's just ridiculous to think that. I remember when digital cameras came out, like, and I remember using like the wind-up cameras that you had to get your film developed at the shop, and you know, paper print, and you didn't even know if half the things were going to turn out. Like, to think of the power that we have in our iPhones now is just crazy. And I don't want to hear your conversations about Androids down below. I have no idea what Androids are, and I don't know. I don't know the difference, but I'm sure they have really high-powered cameras too. Everything does, and they're always competing with each other. So Apple or Android or whatever they're called, you know, just I'm sure you'll be fine with a phone. Also, lighting. I'm going to leave you with this tip as well. Lighting is kind of essential. I find it ironic that I'm talking about lighting literally in a video where you can see the sunlight is casting a shadow on my arms. But lighting, I will encourage you to invest in a ring light. Please, please, please just invest in a ring light, especially if you're someone that wants to make money being a creative. It will help you in so many different ways. It's a nice even light, it's bright white, your colors will be a lot truer, a reflection of what you're actually doing. Everything will be lit pretty evenly. It's lit. But also, you don't want to be relying on natural light. Natural light is beautiful where you can get it, but we can't always get it, and especially not after the sun's gone away. So you don't want to have to depend on whenever the sun's going to cooperate and whenever the cloud's going to be like bright and overcast, and you know what I mean? You can't be waiting for ideal weather to start working. So if you're, but that's only if you're going to do this as a job. I would recommend it's an essential part of your business to have a ring light. But other than that, I mean, you can just do it with natural light if you want, but I think it's a really helpful investment. I'll be honest, I get a lot of good inspiration that happens at night, and even if I'm not filming, I can't work using colors with my regular room light. There's a yellow cast to it, so all my colors I can't see them properly, so I do need to use the white ring light. So at least that if I'm doing colored things at night, I can see exactly what colors I'm using. I've like woken up the next day just using random room light and thought it was a yellow, and it turned out to be a red. So it's one of those things where like a ring light saves you in a ton of ways that you don't even know about it, but definitely a worthwhile investment. I think they're about $100 and something. I'll leave the link to mine down below as well. And it goes hand in hand with your iPhone. If you've got an iPhone, all you need is one of those hands-free kind of iPhone clamps for the car. You just clamp that onto your ring light. You have instant video setup for your bird's eye tutorials and kind of process videos, journal with me's, anything you'd want to film, you could do it just with those things. So those are my 2 tips, I guess, for getting yourself started if you are someone that wants to have a bit of a go at it. There obviously are a million other things I could talk about, but I'll just leave it with that today. Just leave it nice and simple, and yeah. iPhone 7 Plus and a ring light, you really can't go wrong, and it would serve you for any kind of YouTube channel, beauty or mixed media arts and crafts, to be honest. Alrighty, see you later, bye.